Greetings, YouTube. I've mentioned on my channel before that I have a family history in coal mining. My grandfather worked in the coal mines. My great-grandfather died from black lung. So when people talk about coal mines and the horrible way that coal companies treat their employees, it hits a particular personal note. At one time, in an attempt to keep coal miners alive, they would use canaries, because a canary is more sensitive to the changes in the mine's atmosphere and would drop dead more quickly than it would affect a human. So when the canary fell to the bottom of its cage, you knew, run for your life, and don't light off any candles in the process. Because remember, early times they used actual lanterns, like on their head, little flames. Yeah, not what you want in a mine. The advent of flashlights saved a whole lot of lives. And when these canaries died, the miners ran, because they now knew that the atmosphere they were in was toxic. What they didn't do was stay in the mine and blame the canary. Why do I bring this up? Because the metaphor I'm running with here is that the patriarchy is the toxic atmosphere of our society in the world today. And who is the canary in the coal mine? That would be feminism. Feminism isn't to blame for all the toxic things that the patriarchy does. Feminism is just the people telling you and pointing it out to you that the patriarchy exists and it's doing horrible things to the world, both men and women. And yet, a whole lot of men blame feminists for pointing this out, because they would much rather not have it pointed out. They would much rather just have them be silent and they can continue living in the toxic environment, having it ruin their lives, but it means they don't have to think. They don't have to really ponder about how they need to change the way they view the world and how they act in it. It's a whole lot easier to have the patriarchy slowly kill them and ruin their lives than to step back and realize that the models that they have in their head don't work. They have never worked. They have never benefited them, but it keeps alive the toxic atmosphere of the patriarchy. And I've come to view the patriarchy as a process rather than a thing. And it's a process that has been going on for so long, as I've mentioned in the past, the monkeys up the ladder, that now no one goes up the ladder because it's bad. They don't remember why it's bad. They just make sure no monkeys go up the ladder. And I had someone on my channel recently go off about how men have a higher suicide rate. Yes, they do have a higher suicide rate. Do you know some of the reasons they have a higher suicide rate? Because the patriarchy tells men they have to solve their own friggin' problems. That if they admit they have a problem publicly, or they seek help to solve their problem, or they talk about their problems, that they're pussies, that they're weak, that they're feminine. And that's what the patriarchy tells men. So men try to solve their own problems, but because they don't have the skill set, thanks to the patriarchy, they can't solve their own problems. And in some cases, the men faced with this can't go on. And it kills them. Literally. But folks blame the feminists for what the patriarchy has done. I've seen men complain, oh, the men die more often on the jobs. You are correct. They do. Why? Because men have never allowed women to work in those industries. So since there's a whole lot more men in those industries, there's a whole lot more male deaths. If it was completely equal, the deaths would be more evenly distributed. But they don't take that. They don't step back and ask, why are men in this industry more than women? It's not because the women are making the men doing this. It's because the patriarchy says, these are the types of jobs that men do. Men don't do other types of jobs. Women don't do these jobs. And men believe that. Women believe that. Society believes that. It's just horribly sick and twisted. It's a circular justification that just grinds up people's lives and spits them out. And feminism is the canary in the gold mine. Coal mines, rather. It's pointing out these problems exist. It's pointing out the existence of the patriarchy. And some people hate that because they'd rather just keep their heads buried in the sand and never have to think about it because it's easier. But it's dangerous, it's toxic, it's sick, it's twisted. It's been killing us, and it's going to continue to kill us and make our lives miserable. It's going to mean that we are never going to achieve equality on the grounds of gender or sexual identity, because no one wants to face the facts. No one wants to face reality. They would rather pretend the toxic atmosphere isn't here, but it is. So stop pretending it doesn't exist. Face it. Address it. Dig deeper and deeper until you find the root of the problem, because at that root is the patriarchy. No matter how much you don't want to believe that, no matter how much your mental model says, no, 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 that's not the truth, it is. Feminism's not doing it. It's the sick, twisted patriarchy that is. So stop blaming the canary and start addressing the fact that we are living in a toxic environment.